Hey, Alec with Geode Dice here. Last time we looked at blanks, we made some really cool coffee dice, and utilizing the blank inserts, we were able to make awesome dice where we didn't have to worry about voids or the excess natural inserts poking through and ruining our main dice. Blanks can be used in that way, and it just makes life so much easier whenever you want to make naturalistic inserts. But what if we were to push that one step further? What if we made some really cool rocks? Today, we're making geode dice, and we're gonna achieve that effect where you get that real sense of depth and hidden wonder by actually carving out our blanks. We're gonna do that using a Dremel tool, which is relatively easy and safe to do, but if you're not comfortable using a Dremel tool, definitely check us out in the description below on how to get some geode blank molds of your own. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our traditional blank and we're gonna carve away this excess material. Now with the geode, you don't wanna remove too much, because if you remove too much material, then you're getting into more like mountain or naturalistic dice. We definitely want to focus on making a pocket. So just like a geode, whenever you crack that rock open, you've got the internal crystal structure. That's what we want to replicate. So we're going to come in, we're going to carve away just enough of that material to give us that pocket shape. The second thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming in with multiple layers built up to give us that natural structure. So different crystal sizes is really key to making sure your geodes look genuine and you get that really nice crystal effect. The way we're going to do that is just do a base layer of some foil. Then we're going to come in with some small glitter. Now, today I'm going to show you how to do that with glow glitter. But the final piece, and the most important to make sure you get that really nice crystal structure, is using mylar flakes. Now you can make your own mylar flakes by cutting up mylar, but Glitter Hippo sells a wide variety of coloration of mylar flakes that I highly recommend and are perfect for this application. So then we're gonna get all of our nice crystal structure buildup, and that's gonna give us our beautiful geodes. So let's go ahead and get started and start carving some blanks. Okay, so when you're working with the Dremel, there's a couple things to keep in mind. And first off is going to be your PPE. So you want to make sure you're outdoors, preferably, or an extremely well ventilated area. This is going to make a ton of dust. So eye protection is key. I'm going to double up. And then breathing resin dust is never fun, so you should have a respirator always on hand for when you're casting. But today we're going to be using a full respirator, because resin dust sucks. Also, you can be a villain. Batman, nice smile. So, our main goal of casting today is making sure we get in and make that natural garnet shape. You can see, with this particular blank, it's got a nice plume on the inside, so I want to keep that. So I'm going to work from the top down. Now, when you do your blanks, you can do solid colors as well. But I figured since we're doing this little demo example, we'd go kind of fancy. The type of bit we're using are just traditional wood carving bits. And you can get those by following the link below. So as you can see, this makes a ton of dust. So super important to wear eye protection, use a respirator. Now with the geode dice, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make that pocket. So I'm going in deep and all the way into about 2/3 of the dice to make sure we really get in there and get that interior crystal structure that we can build off of. Now on this one I went kind of light. I didn't hit all my faces. You can definitely carve out a lot more than I did here. Don't be afraid to go crazy with it.
It's one of those things you just kind of got to feel it and use your artistic expression and really dig in there. But let's go ahead and get to the table and show you what it looks like when we get the glitter and the foil and all the bells and whistles on these before we put them in the Dice mold.
Here we have our geodes. You can see they're all cleaned up and ready to go from the mold. Haven't done anything additional to them except remove the little bit of flashing from around the edge. But there's no need to polish these because they're going right into our mold just like you would do with traditional blanks. You can see here on this particular batch of geodes, I've gone ahead and added some mica dusting to it. Now what that dusting of mica has done is it gives it a really nice gold effect on the interior while keeping the exterior nice and translucent pink for this particular geode set that we're doing. Now, the big thing to keep in mind when doing geodes is layering is key. That's gonna be what makes or breaks your geodes. And I find that layering in a 3-step process gives the best results. So the first step is gonna be your flake. Now, I recommend silver or gold as a nice solid base. For this particular set, to go with the gold mica, we're gonna match it with this gold flake. The next thing you're gonna wanna use is a glow powder. Now, this isn't required, but I find the glow powder really adds an extra layer of depth, and the small particle size that you get with really nice glow powders like those from solarcolordust.com gives a extra little bit of texture and depth that you really don't get with just traditional mica powder. And last but not least is the mandatory mylar flakes. Now you can go with different size flakes, but larger, chunkier mylar flakes gives that really realistic crystalline structure that you see in traditional geodes. So this is what I highly recommend. Glitter Hippo has some of the best mylar flakes on the market. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our blank and we're gonna go ahead and start with the D20. And what we're gonna use to adhere everything together, you can use super glue, but what I found works even better is UV resin. But just like when you're working with any UV product, gloves are the way to go. All right, so you can work with your UV resin a couple different ways. You can put it directly into the mold, which is how I prefer to do it, or you can make yourself a little palette of UV resin. Now that we've got it in there, we're gonna take our brush and just make sure we're getting a nice light coating on all the faces. Once we have a nice even coating on the inside, we're gonna go ahead and grab some of our gold leaf and just get a little bit on the paintbrush here and put that right on the inside. We're using the surface tension of that UV resin to grab onto it. Now you're not looking for total or perfect coverage. Your main goal here is just to get enough in there that it adds an extra layer of depth. And I found making sure you get the side walls is the most important, as the under levels, like the base itself here at the very bottom of the geode, is going to get filled with the majority of that mylar and glow dust. So you can see I don't have a ton built up in here, but now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my UV torch and I'm gonna hit this. I like to hit it because some of that light is gonna bleed through if you've got a little bit of transparency. So I like to hit the outside as well. And now I'm just gonna grab a little bit more of this UV resin. And we're just gonna finish up getting the inside. Now you can do this. I've got a big old leaf right here. Just gonna go right inside and just all over. You can see it just crunches right down in there. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. All this is gonna get covered and coated with resin once we cast these. This is just building the foundation so that we got good, realistic geode-like interiors. Perfect. So now that gives us a nice first layer of a good craggly edge. Gonna go ahead and hit this with the UV. Okay, so now that we have that first bit down, gonna take a little bit more of our UV resin, We're just gonna put it in there right on top. And now we're just gonna do the coat all over, just like we did the first time, except now we're going right over all of that foil and flake. Gonna take one of our cups, and now we're going to get our glow dust, pour out a healthy amount. Grab yourself a popsicle stick, and then just drop it, sprinkle it. Drop it and sprinkle it right into your mold. Then dump it out, and you can see, get a nice powder coating of the glow dust. Then we're gonna take our UV, hit it, and make sure it's getting a nice, good base. Okay, so that's our glow powder step. Now, last but not least is the most important and the non-optional Mylar flake. Now, you can use other glitters, but it just doesn't make that same effect as the Mylar flake does. The Mylar flake just really sells that crystalline structure feeling. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and put another drop of the UV resin in there, just like we did with our other steps. Gonna go ahead and put the cap on this now, because we no longer need it for this particular die. Just like we did before, we're gonna make sure we coat all of our surfaces, focusing more on the interior and base rather than the edges, because the crystals are gonna be a little bit more inset. It's rare to see a geode where it's exploding out the side, because the whole thought of it is it formed on the interior of the stone and then it was broken open. So you want to make sure your edges retain some of that lack of crystal. And just like we did with the glow dust, we're going to take our popsicle stick, get a good healthy scoop on there, and then I find putting the popsicle stick in and kind of pushing it around just to make sure it really adheres nicely. Get a good healthy amount of crystals in. Go back with your UV brush and kind of mix it up a little so you get a little bit of chunkiness, and it gives you a little bit of that UV on the top surface to help lock everything down. And then look at that. Get a nice, beautiful, reactive, crystalline structure. Gonna go hit this with some more UV, and with the UV on there you can really see that crazy shine of the glow powder. Now the glow powder won't overpower it this much with the actual glow. It's always going to be most intense with the UV light, but it still looks awesome. Perfect. And now we are all locked in place here. You can see it's nice and hard, crunchy, as the kids would say.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
And now we're just going to repeat these steps on the rest of our die to make our completed geodes. So let's go ahead and get that done. As you can see, I'm doing everything in batches here. You can see just going through and making sure everything's got a good coating. On the gold foil steps, it's really important to make sure you get those top edges, so that way foil wants to cling to it, and that's what kind of draws in the eye to the center of the geode. All right, it's time for the big reveal. Get that nice camera crack for you guys. My cap looked like it was a little off center. Did lots of casting with this one. Oh, but look at it. It's beautiful. Oh, these are amazing. I love geode days so much. These are amazing. I am, oh God. No, but really, I'm gonna get these under some beauty shots for you guys. Nathan, would you run that beautiful B-roll for me? Thanks.
You've got it, my style.
Oh, are you seeing this? Are you seeing these? I held off for way too long to make these geode dice. It's been on my list of things to do, but it just, sometimes you need that creative motivation and it's just not there. So if you've got something you've been putting off, experimenting with, or wanting to do with dice, I highly recommend jumping into it because, man, it was a ton of work, but the payoff here was amazing. I am so happy and so thrilled. Now, if you want to make your own geode dice but don't have access to a Dremel or a safe space to do the carving, I've got great news because we're going to be offering limited edition geode molds through our store. Now, this is going to be a limited edition run, which means we're not going to do any additional molds of this style. So geode mold version 1, we're going to run this batch, and then once they're gone, they're gone. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely jump on it before they're gone. This goes to show that with a little bit of extra creativity, you can really just kind of push the boundaries of what we're able to do with dice making. So I highly suggest that if you've got something on your backlog, jump on it because it's one of those things that the reward is so satisfying. And you know what? I've put a lot of work in and had dice fail, and I'm still happy because I tried it and I pushed those boundaries, and you're never gonna grow if you don't push those boundaries. So don't be scared, jump in head first and make it happen. Now, last week we had a big giveaway and we're gonna keep that push going. So I wanna give a huge shout out to Caitlin M. Congratulations. You're gonna be this week's winner and you're gonna get yourself a limited edition geode mold. We're gonna keep this train running on every video and make sure we're giving away molds, pots, and other special edition stuff. Now for everyone else who wants to get entered into next week's giveaway, definitely jump in the comments and let me know what your favorite mineral type is or what type of geodes you would make, because the only limit is your creativity. Thanks again for taking the time to watch our videos and cast with us, and don't forget, happy casting.